In today's Leeds news, Premier League discussed transfer date changes, Tanaka Premier League ready, Firpo not injured, Gruev on Farke relationship, Millwall fan banned for tragedy chants, and Sargent linked with Leeds move. Morning folks, Cheer here on Tuesday morning the 25th of March with your Leeds United news. Hope you're all having a good week so far. There's a bit of stuff to get stuck into today, but just really two quick points to redirect you towards the end of the video, and that is the Leeds Legends 11 game taking place in Bray, County Wicklow, Ireland on May 10th. Some details around that game towards the back end of the video, and our very own Andrew Stats Dalton is organising a quiz trivia night tomorrow night, Wednesday night at Elland Road. More details on that at the end of the video as well if you want to get involved with that. Let's crack on and start off with the news today. And we'll start around changes to the Premier League transfer window, which will ultimately end up affecting the Championship transfer window as well. And according to reports today, the Premier League clubs will discuss in a meeting today moving the date of the summer transfer window back 2 weeks before kick-off next season. Last year, the summer transfer window opened from the 14th of June and stayed open until the 30th of August, and that was 2 weeks extended from the previous year. The move was made to bring the Premier League back into line with European leagues to avoid teams on the continent getting a transfer advantage over the UK clubs. All 20 clubs will discuss this proposal today, and the new date range looking to close the window on August 14th, which would close the window 2 days before the season kicks off. TalkSport say that they expect Premier League clubs to push back on these proposals as they see the German, Italian, French windows staying open until the start of September as an advantage, and are also looking at the Saudi Arabian market as a bit of a threat. For the proposal to pass, the Premier League will need 14 clubs to vote in favour with it. However, TalkSport say that early sentiments suggest that this vote won't even take place due to its opposition. FIFA rules state that the transfer window must last a maximum of 89 days, but not a minimum. And this idea to close the window before the season kicks off is a good idea on paper. It means everybody knows what they have, what they're dealing with, and can move forward into this season. But I also understand the opposition. If foreign clubs have the option to extend their window by a further 2 weeks, English clubs will have to deal with clubs trying to buy their players and have no ability to replace them should it happen. The Saudi Arabian market has been an example of that in the last couple of years as well. The speculation alone can upset a player when you're already starting your season. So it would need a FIFA window, but that's not straightforward either because leagues around the world are also not synced up. So it's a bit of a mess of a situation, but you have to make the best as what you can. And it looks like it'll probably stay exactly as it is going into next season. Moving on, let's talk about a Premier League ready player, and should Leeds prove that they have the nerve to finish the job this season and get promoted back to the Premier League, thoughts will then turn to the matchday squad and who has the ability to step up. Leeds have done some shrewd business in the last couple of transfer windows outside of January just gone, and that has seen this side sit top of the league for the bulk of this season. So how many of these players will be able to step up into the Premier League? Well, according to former Aston Villa midfielder and Sky Sports pundit Lee Hendry, he believes that Leeds have one right now, and that player is out Tanaka. Tanaka's form this season for Leeds United has been incredible, especially when you take into the context of he came from the second tier of German football, a Japanese international coming into England for the very first time, into a really tough, combative league like the Championship, and he has taken to it like a duck to water. On Tanaka, Hendry told Football League World the following: I always look at players who come into this league in their first season, and out Tanaka at Leeds, the central midfielder, has come into the club of that build and that expectation level, and he has literally gone straight into the team and fit in really, really well. I think he's been one of their outstanding players, particularly when they've had injuries in the midfield area. Both himself and Joe Rothwell have really stood out, but Tanaka, every time I've watched him, he has great ability, he can drive forward, and he's been a real driving force for Leeds this season. He's been phenomenal for Leeds, but had Leeds not had injuries to Ilya Gruev and Ethan Ampadu earlier on this season, we may never have seen the partnership of Tanaka and Rothwell, which has been a really exciting partnership for the bulk of this season. They've been great. And I personally agree with Lee Hendry on this. I think Ao Tanaka has all of the capabilities to step into the Premier League and be a very solid midfielder at that level. You see how he handles pressure situations in the Championship with relative ease, and that, for me, bodes very well stepping up into the Premier League. The rest of the squad, that's a different question for a different day, but we'll move on. Let's talk about Junior Firpo and Firpo's absence from the Dominican Republic's first friendly against Puerto Rico raised some questions around the player and caused speculation that he may have picked up a bit of an injury. But some updates yesterday may just relax the nerves a little bit around the fan base, and Firpo has now appeared in the Dominican Republic's social media content promoting the second friendly against Puerto Rico, and in footage released has been seen in full contact training with his national side. So the decision appears to have just been one to rest the player for that first game. Firpo is expected to play in the Dominican Republic's second game against Puerto Rico, which takes place tonight on UK time at midnight up in San Diego. But you would have thought that the smart decision here would be to rest him for the second game, let him get back to Leeds and then recover. But at least, I suppose, at the very minimum, he's had one game this week rather than two. So there's some benefit in that, and let's hope he comes back injury-free after that game. Moving on, let's talk about Ilya Gruev and his international duty. He's been speaking about his relationship with Daniel Farke, a player whose future has been questioned as well, and he is currently back at Leeds United, one of two players that had already returned after his games against the Republic of Ireland ended in defeat. But Gruev has had a stop-start campaign for Leeds this season after an injury early on curtailed what was a starting start for him during the campaign. He has been used very effectively by Daniel Farke since his return in the away games to just make Leeds a little bit more defensively secure in those games. The Bulgarian midfielder was speaking to the German outlet Sport and spoke about his positive relationship with Daniel Farke, but Farke is personally not as hands-on as people might think, and he said the following: "I have a very good relationship with the coach. Daniel Farke is someone who wants to help a player. He knows exactly when to talk to a player, and that's one of his qualities. He doesn't overdo it with the personal conversations. He's demanding and very ambitious. Things are going very well for me, thanks to the coach. I simply enjoy a different status than I did at Bremen." Gruev has been linked in the last couple of weeks with a return to the Bundesliga next season, but he hasn't ruled out in or out, basically stating that Leeds' situation next season needs to be sorted out before anybody can make a decision on their future. Gruev for me would be a tidy player to have in the squad in the Premier League. Starter maybe not so much, but definitely as part of the overall squad. If Leeds don't get promoted, he would be a very important player in the Championship if Leeds could hang on to him at that point. So yeah, it would make sense that he would consider Leeds' future first before looking at his own. But yeah, I like him. Not everyone agrees with me, but I like him. Let's move on. Let's talk about the Leeds United Millwall game, which kicked up some unsavoury sights. And as we know, Leeds versus Millwall is a tasty affair at the best of times. And last time out, and not for the first time, tragedy chanting was heard coming from the away section of Elland Road. The EFL have promised harsh, strict consequences for tragedy chanting over the last 2 seasons in the UK, but so far have yet to follow that up with anything other than words. Millwall fan Frankie Harris, who's 19 years of age, has now been given a 3-year footballing barring order following his actions during the match, which included tragedy chants around the Istanbul chants and making stabbing gestures towards the Leeds United fans. So much so that the police got involved. Following his arrest, a report states that Harris' behaviour deteriorated even further. After abusing police officials, he was also seen to be smearing excrement on cell walls and has also been charged with criminal damage. The response and the punishment has been given directly by the police in this situation and not the Football League, who have again remained silent on the topic, despite Leeds and Millwall both releasing statements condemning tragedy chanting during the games and across the UK as well. But yeah, as I said, the Football League have promised harsh action on this and have currently delivered nothing and haven't even made a statement on this situation, at least not yet. But let's move on. Let's talk about a link, I suppose, a very loose link with Leeds, but one that's not going away, so we'll cover it and get it out of the way, and that's Josh Sargent. It always feels like an easy link from Daniel Farke to any player that he had during his time at Norwich City, especially the ones that played in the Premier League under Farke. Max Aarons, Kenny McLean, Emi Buendia are all regularly mentioned as potential signings for Leeds United when a transfer window rolls around since Daniel Farke arrived at Elland Road. But Josh Sargent is another one. But there is increasing speculation around this one, and Sargent himself has even been speaking about his future. This season so far, the 25-year-old striker has scored 12 goals in 21 starts and has added 5 assists during that time. So 17 G&A in 21 games isn't bad on paper, but his season has been cut short due to an injury, and his injury record is something that Leeds should be keeping an eye on. Sargent missed 16 games this season with a groin issue, and last season missed 28 games with an ankle problem. 2 years before that, he also missed another 14 games with a similar ankle problem. during the 21-22 seasons and has had ankle surgery during that time as well. So that they are factors that Leeds will very much need to consider if this is a player, given the fact that we've got Patrick Bamford currently in the squad, who has been injured nearly all of this season and the bulk of last season. Sargent, though, has always looked a capable striker and a quality finisher in the Championship and could very well end up being a very good Premier League striker. Sargent scored 41 goals in 90 Championship appearances to date. And speaking to the US media while on international duty about his future, Sargent said the following: "I think there will be a few options this summer if something were to happen. It's a decision that me and my wife are going to have to make together, and whatever makes the most sense for our family as well as my career." They're words from a player that would suggest he's very much considering what his summer will look like, and he looks like he is considering a move away from Norwich. If you're a Norwich City fan, they're not words you want to hear your striker talking while on international duty during an active season. But during his last Premier League stint, Josh Sargent did only score 2 goals in 20 games. Up there, but though he was surrounded by a relatively poor Norwich side that hadn't had a huge amount of investment at that time and subsequently got relegated, so he could do it at that level. It's unsure, but his injury record for me is a big concern. Leeds would want to be very sure who they're bringing in next season that can fill the space of Patrick Bamford's absence, I suppose, in the last 2 seasons with injuries. He's coming into the final year of his contract. Leeds will want to bring in somebody who can be a mainstay in that number 9 position and not bring in a player who has suffered continuously over the last 5 seasons with ankle problems and a groin issue this year. So remains to be seen what Leeds will do in that situation. But yeah, the number 9 and number 10 position are likely to be hot topics coming into the summer should Leeds get over the line, but we'll have to wait and see how that one goes. But then real quickly, just to bring you up to date on 2 things that we're helping to support on the channel. One is Andrew Stats Dalton. Wednesday night, tomorrow night, is running a night of football trivia for the LUFC Trust and the Stroke Association as well. That will take place in the Bremner Suite at Ellen Road. It's £50 for a team of 5. If you want to get involved in that, you can contact Stats on Twitter if you want to, or head down to Ellen Road and get some details around that. Also, secondly, the Leeds United Legends game coming to Ireland on May 10th. Leeds will play the Borough Legends from St Joseph's on the 10th of May in the Carlisle grounds in Bray, County Wicklow. Ireland tickets are still on sale for that game. There is also an opportunity to meet the players. There's a dinner and a lunch opportunity as well. Those tickets are all available on Eventbright, and they're linked down below. You will be able to see the likes of Jermaine Beckford, Ross McCormick, Ian Hart, Andy Cousins, Michael Bridges, Matt Kilgallen all take part in that game, as well as more, and be managed by Paul Reaney and Mel Stern. So you can check out that information down below. Folks, enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you later on. Mind yourself. See ya. Bye.